I'm going to ask 10 questions, and these 10 questions I'm going to answer on my video tomorrow. Please let me know in the comment section what you think about the style. Let's get started without further delay. Number one, what happens when you allow life to become a lot more dreamlike? Number two, why do I feel so blessed that I got to act in a film in 2018? Number three, why is gender nothing but a costume? Number four, what happens to a person's gender identity when they reincarnate? Number five, why is our demeanor nothing but a costume? Number six, what very interesting thing happened to me today which proves this point? Number seven, what happened to Aaron Doherty and Leora Alexandra when they walked around in their town saying, life is just a dream? Number eight, why is it so amazing to incorporate in your life the belief that life is just a dream? Number nine, what happens when you become more playful and allow your mind to flow freely? And number 10, if you adapt this approach of allowing life to become a lot more playful, it is something which really helps you and it really gets you through a lot of difficulties and through a lot of impasses in your life, junctions, let us say. I've been doing it lately. And the question is, do I still fall back into the clutch of the ego and back into thinking that life is totally as heavy as it used to appear? 10 questions which I'm going to answer tomorrow in tomorrow's video. I'm going to carry on and talk about something very interesting, and that is dealing with past trauma. Today, I was standing in front of a train station, and I remembered standing in that exact same place 4 years before. And my goodness, the rush of trauma which came to me at that point came all back to me then. It was at that point that somebody called me on my phone, and it was a really strange coincidence because that person kind of correlated to the story, but he wasn't actually part of my life back then, but he somehow correlated to the story. But to cut a long story short, it was 4 years ago that I was standing at that train station and I was watching as a certain clip was shared and had gone viral. A certain interview which I had done and it had gone viral. And I remember standing at that exact same place and I just realized while standing there, yes, the trauma's coming back, that flow, that flood of emotions, that feeling, that trauma that I felt back then. It wasn't just trauma that I felt back then. I also felt a bit of strength at the time, but it was also a flow of energy which all came trickling back onto me, and it kind of brought up a lot of interesting emotions. But I kept on telling myself, Jessica, remember, go into a state of mind of thinking of this as a dream. Going into a state of mind of thinking of this as if it was playful, as if I'm just being playful, I'm enjoying this as a dream. And the best way to do this is go back to your childhood and remember and reminisce in your childhood what you did in order to be playful and what you did in order to reminisce exciting times and to just make up exciting times in your childhood. I remember my childhood, it was very much about airplanes. As a child, I was always fascinated over how airplanes fly. I was always desperate to get onto an airplane. I remember looking in the sky, and when my neighbor told me he was flying abroad, I remember I would look at any flying plane over the sky and think of him sitting on that plane and enjoying himself. That's what children do. Children allow their imagination to stretch, and adults kind of stop doing that kind of thing. When we turn to adulthood, we kind of stop doing that kind of thing. But I told my mind when I was, struggling with those mix of emotions, I said, just try to be playful here. Try to think of life as more dreamlike. And I'm going to answer tomorrow what life is like when it becomes more dreamlike, but I'm going to hint to it today and say that when life becomes more dreamlike, you don't take the load of life so seriously. And you almost laugh at the people who kind of get sucked into the matrix, if you like, or get sucked into the trauma and the reality of the world around them. As many of you know, I have not been looking at the news now for almost, what is it, 4 months? I lose track at times. It's May to June, June to July, July to August. That's 4 months. For about 4 months now, I've not been looking at any part of the news. And I have found that, yes, I do pick up in bits and pieces. People drop messages on Facebook about the news. So I'll pick up on tiny bits and pieces. I'll pick up on tiny bits and pieces about the news, but for the most part, it's not part of my life anymore. I used to be a newsaholic. Before I became spiritual, I was a newsaholic. Yes, my sin, I do admit today. Before I became spiritual, I was a newsaholic. Now it's not part of my life at all. And it's very interesting because quite recently I had gone to meet um, uh, had gone to meet certain people, and they told me who the prime minister was, and I was shocked because these people who I had gone to meet, they were very religious people. Okay, it's not a contradiction, but it was just an irony because I was always like very into the important need for everybody to know what's going on around them, and here I was, the less religious person compared to them, but they knew about the news and they knew about who was the prime minister, and I had no clue the prime minister was. And apparently, for some reason, the prime minister had stepped down, and I hadn't even known about it. I did have Everyone knows the story about when I was in the taxi in mid-May, and I wasn't listening to the news anymore, but I was in that taxi. I was stuck in that taxi, and I had to hear and find out who that the prime minister was stepping down. So I knew that she was stepping down, and I remember just thinking about They said she's going away from Downing Street. So I thought she was going away from Downing Street and she's going to Upper Street, which I spoke about this back in May. But it was a fascinating experience because okay, I knew she was leaving, but I didn't know when she was leaving and I didn't pay attention to it. And it took a very religious person to actually tell me that she had left already and now there's a new prime minister. It's a fascinating experience, and I'm not involved. I don't care. It doesn't affect me. If you're not part of that kind of matrix, if you don't live in that reality of thinking about the news or thinking about the negativity of the news, it's like a different dimension. Quite literally, like a different dimension. So life has become for me like another dimension, and people who are stretched into that reality are just not part of my life anymore because I don't resonate with that. I don't reflect that kind of thing. I'm totally detached from that reality. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention that. And it correlates also to the fact that, I was standing in a train station at that exact same point where I was standing 4 years ago, maybe 4 years ago in 2 months, perhaps, to be exact in time. And I was reminiscing what I had experienced back then, what it felt like, and a mix of emotions. And then when I got a phone call from somebody who kind of related to my life back then, but he wasn't even in my life back then, but he was correlated to it. And I got that mix of emotions, which kind of pulled it even further, but it didn't affect me because I decided life is very playful and life is not as serious as it appears. And I wasn't going to allow it to affect me in any way. And my whole day became like that. My whole day became very playful. I was speaking to people on the phone and I very much felt in a very good mood and I felt that stretch of great mood. And although trauma did come back up because of standing in that exact same place where trauma was triggered, but it didn't affect me. And I was a lot more neutral. I was able to view things from a much more neutral perspective. It was really cool. I really, really enjoyed the experience and it felt surreal in many ways. It kind of felt like, wow, you could really change, you could really switch your reality to where you want it to be. You could really, really set the tone of your reality to where you want it to be. And if you want to change your life, you could change your life. It's dependent upon you. It's absolutely dependent and totally dependent upon you. You could change your mood, and you don't need any means, any substances to get to that place of a change of mood to a great place, to a better place, and to a functional and really productive place. That's my video today. If you like today's video, press that like button. And please let me know in the comment section what you think about this new style of putting questions, which I'll be answering tomorrow night. Put it in the comment section down below. And I just thought I'd mention that on Sunday I'm going to be going to an Air Force show. I'm going to be working there. So that's another one of my childhood dreams of going to an Air Force and seeing those amazing planes flying overhead. Planes are somebody's imagination which came to fruition. Just worth bearing in mind. I want to wish you a great weekend ahead, and I just want to remind you that my name is Jessica Madden, and on my channel here on YouTube, I help people raise their awareness and become very successful. I share great tips and amazing lessons which I picked up throughout my life, and great tips and amazing lessons which I pick up every single day. Reminding you again that if you press that subscribe button and you're the 100th subscriber, actually I think it's on this side. If you're the 100th subscriber, press that subscribe button and you're the 100th subscriber, you'll receive from me a free gift. And the shipping will also be for free on the house, for free, given away for free. I love you so much. I want to wish you a great weekend ahead, a great Shabbat if you celebrate Shabbat, Saturday. Have a great Saturday. I love you so much, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. I love you.